Another update cycle, another dev server. Today we're going to be checking out the new strike aircraft that are going to be coming into the game in the next major update. Last update we also had a lot of CAS aircraft. This update we have more of them, more and more powerful ones. First of all, we're going to be checking out the Su-34 here. This thing is going to be placed right after the Su-24 and it's at battle rating 13.3, which is I guess one higher than the Su-25 I was about to say, but that's in air realistic and ground realistic. It's the same BR. Now this thing gets access to a maximum of 6 KH-38s, both laser and thermal guided. The one problem though is that this plane doesn't have access to any thermals, unlike the Su-25, which has like a little thermal camera on it. The only thermal camera you have are the missiles themselves, and I find it a bit hard to use them, or a bit like cumbersome to use them than on the Su-25, just because you kind of have to like switch around and it doesn't really feel as nice. But hey, maybe that's just a skill issue on my end. Other than that, of course, it really is just a big Su-27. It's got 2 people here in the cockpit. It's got a big tail with yeah, a big fuel tank in it. Supposedly there's an APU here in the back, so there's nothing really too interesting there. And it's quite a big bus, and it feels like a bus to fly as well. I'll be showing some footage later on, but let's go to the next aircraft. Now, I guess it does also get glide bombs. The reason I'm not really going to talk about them too much is I don't find them too useful. Why would you take those when you could take these? I guess maybe someone can explain that to me in the comments, but I'd rather just take the KH-38s, both variants actually, over the glide bomb, because you can't adjust these mid-flight. They kind of just do their own thing. And they just go to a select point, these, or at least these move the KH-38s. But yeah, the next one, which is arguably the strongest one being added this update, is the F-15E. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the 229 engines, it only has the 220s. Supposedly 229s are much more powerful. I don't know anything about planes, but I'm gonna trust people saying that. I think the Israeli one does get them though. But this is only going to be focusing on the F-15E here. This thing, as you can see, is the Strike Eagle. It's got Mavericks, which is very big, and it also has a lot of bombs to go with it. And you can also load, I guess the loadout that I would use is like 3 AMRAAMs and 1 AIM-9M, or maybe I'd swap one of them out for an AIM-9M, and it doesn't really matter. Right now, it replaces the countermeasures. So when you take a targeting pod, you only get access to 120 of them. Supposedly, this isn't really too accurate. You could take chaff in these ones here on this side, supposedly. That's what I read on a Discord server. I mean, that's pretty sketchy, but hey, maybe they know better. So yeah, maybe that'll get changed. But for now, you have to sacrifice one of your countermeasure pods to get access to a targeting pod. Other than that, of course, it has lots of hard points. It has GPS bombs. It also has normal laser guided bombs. The loadout that I would take is probably the 6 MAVs with some missiles, and then if I really wanted to, some laser guided bombs, because you can adjust those. Of course, you could just spam enemy SPAA with these glide bombs here, but I don't really like GPS bombs in general because I find that they're not really useful. But maybe someone can prove me wrong in the comments. Other than that, the loadout is actually pretty similar to the F-15C, where you have AMRAAMs on all slots or on all air pylons. Although I don't think you can carry the AMRAAMs without the CFTs. You have to take them if you want to be able to mount, I guess, a full air superiority loadout. I'm just going to test that right now, actually, to make sure that I'm not lying here. I'm just going to load 2 9Ms. We're going to load... okay, these don't matter anyway. Where is the pylon? Here it is. Okay, never mind. So you can actually take the AMRAAMs without loading on CFTs, so that's good. That's actually really nice. Yeah, very cool, very cool. They just tried to appear there, but yeah, luckily they didn't. But yeah, this is going to be one of the strongest just because of how fast it is compared to the Su-34. It's much faster, and it's also got head-mounted sight, or a HMD. This thing doesn't have it, at least right now. So maybe that's not accurate, but that's going to be a big drawback. It does have access to R77s though, so You do get that, but then again, I think the F-15 is just going to slam this thing into the ground just because of how much better it is, in my opinion, at least. Of course it doesn't, or the Su-34 doesn't face Pantsirs, so I guess that's a plus point of playing it, but other than that, it really is just a bus. And the F-15 is, in my opinion at least, superior. The next one, of course, is the nerfed Tornado GR.4. The reason I'm saying it's nerfed is because the Brimstones aren't really true to real life. And that's probably a good choice, because what you can do with Brimstones supposedly is you just launch them in general direction of an enemy. They auto-acquire a target, and they use their radar to hold on to them, of course. No missile in-game can do that, not even the KH-38 MTs. You can still smoke them, and they kind of lose lock. These, on the other hand, smoking won't save you, or at least if they were to be implemented correctly. Right now, they're just simple laser-guided missiles, just like, I guess the KH-25, or I guess more like the Hellfire, just because of how similar it is. The range on it, I don't quite know. It's long enough, but they're not really too fast. So they're definitely worse than the KH-38s. You do get more of them. Sadly, you can't carry, like, on these outer pylons here. There's like an image of it carrying, like, I think 18 or something. That's without the pod. So then if that image were to be, I guess, real and the bug reports do pass, then it would be able to carry 15 in total. Other than that, it doesn't really get too impressive of an air-to-air loadout. It only has 2 9mm, so it's definitely more of a strike aircraft. You can also load PGMs here. The bug report doesn't pass or something, and even then, even if they do, since these are fire and forget, they may be good to deal with SBA or to get a lot of kills at once. So you launch 2 PGMs when you spawn in, and then you can launch a couple Brimstones later on after you've deleted their SPAA. Alright, so the first plane we're going to be taking a look at is the Su-34. Now this thing here, of course, doesn't have any thermals, so I'm going to have to switch to the missile here and then use its thermals just like on the A-10A. So yeah, there's that. Of course, there's a Pantsir there. Of course, locking him is extremely easy, and since the KH-38s are, as far as I know, one of the fastest fire and forget, if not the fastest fire and forget missiles, you can kind of see it run away there and smite him extremely quickly. Basically, this thing you can think of as a... I'm not sure actually if it's a better Su-25, but maybe a bit better Su-25, just because you do have much more powerful engines and thrust and whatnot. Here you can see another clip of me engaging Pantsirs, although I guess this isn't really a real match, so it's not really too representative of what would happen on the live server, but I guess it could act as a rough baseline. You can see 2 right over there, and what you can also see is that one of them just turned their turret towards me. So yeah, that's not too great. Luckily for me, the KH-38s are extremely quick, and I think right now what he's going to try and do is not shoot me down, but shoot the KH-38 down. Unfortunately for him, he kind of misses. I just thought he intercepted it, which is why I shot another missile there, but it turns out I didn't need to do that. So yeah, that's really nice. One problem with this thing, of course, no thermals, so you kind of have to know where the targets are beforehand if you want to use the laser-guided version, which I personally prefer. Just because, yeah, I mean, you already saw there, I tried to aim at the second Pantsir there, and it kind of just went, yeah, not where I really wanted it to. It also doesn't have an air brake, so it's also something you have to keep in mind. So, yeah, it does look very cool, but it does have some really odd quirks, which you wouldn't really expect. Like, for example, this thing doesn't have any HMD. They just didn't feel like it or something, or maybe it's still work in progress. Regardless, right now, it doesn't have it. Yeah, here we go, a bit of a better clip now, where I get to, I guess, utilize the KH-38 there. I tried to lock the Pantsir, it locks the TAM in front of him. That's not what I asked, but you know what, fine. So be it. That's also not a TAM, that's something else. There we go, now we'll, I think, launch at the TAM or something. Regardless, yeah, we'll just launch a bunch of missiles there. You can see that I tried to lock that TAM there, but it goes to the Pantsir. I mean, yeah, fair enough. I mean, 1 missile, 3 kills. I mean, no one's complaining, but you know, it is certainly a bit annoying when it just kind of decides to lock someone else just because it feels like it, which is why I always prefer the laser-guided versions a bit more. But when you don't have any thermals, then of course things do change a bit. Alright, next clip, we're going to be looking at the F-15. This thing here is honestly my favorite plane coming this patch. I'm going to lock a dead body there, which smashes into the ground, which is why it doesn't really appear on the kill feed. And you can see that the afterburners are bugged. That's fine. Ignore that for now. I'm just going to lock a Maverick against this Tunguska here. Of course, I could have just used the guns, but why would I do that when I have some cool Mavericks I can use? And once we get rid of him, just demonstrate something quite, yeah, I guess interesting about this thing. I mean, this thing's already really fast on the deck, going 1.14. And you can see that I'm going to go into almost a full 90-degree climb. And with laser guided bombs, mind you, with a couple of MAVs as well, and AMRAAMs and all. And I'm barely losing any speed. I mean, yes, I am losing a bit. But it's not really too significant. I'm just kind of going in a straight line, and it just kind of keeps going. I'm not sure if this is because the flight model is not complete. That could very well be the case. I'm not sure how it really is with the current F-15E. I'd expect it to be much heavier than that. It does lose a lot of speed in turns, though, as you would expect. It does have access to HMD, so that's really cool. And also a nice radar. That's also always nice. Unfortunately, the guy that I shoot a missile at kind of slams it into the ground. So yeah, we're just going to yeah, ignore that and instead focus on what the thing's really good at, is smacking down people with Mavericks from a 90-degree angle. Of course, you can already do this in the F-16, so you can kind of think this as an F-16++, just because it's faster, it looks cooler, and it has more missiles. So overall, it's just a straight improvement. And something else really important to mention about the F-16 is that since this plane here is classed as a strike aircraft, it means that it doesn't share a spawn point pool with the F-16. So what you can do is you can acquire something like 1,000 or 900 spawn points to spawn in the F-15. You get killed in it, and hopefully if you have another 900, you can just spawn in an F-16. Usually what would happen is it would cost like an absurd amount to spawn in an F-16 if you've already spawned in an F-16 once. That won't happen though. So America really is blessed these days. I've also climbed to 12,000 meters here just because I can. Of course, when I turn, I'd lose really any speed that I had. But then again, maybe this flight model is just slightly not complete. I mean, it would be really funny for it to stay like this, but yeah, that probably won't be the case. Anyway, I'm gonna use my last remaining Maverick here to yeah, sure, might as well lock that Pantsir there. It's, yeah, might as well. And what I'll do is also just launch a laser guided bomb. The problem with using these laser guided bombs is that they take a long time to get to the target, especially if you're this high up in the sky. But yeah, that just kind of happens. I don't think anyone's gonna get around that and stuff like that. So we're just gonna have to kind of wait here quite a long time, actually. Good thing you do get a little countdown there. That's someone else's bomb, so ignore that for now. I also noticed that they've added this, the player has disconnected from the game message. I hope that's not in live matches, because that would be really annoying. In custom battles, it's also actually kind of annoying, so I don't really know who that benefits. But there we go, my bomb there does bomb things, and yeah, everyone is happy. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, I mean, I already expect the thing to be the strongest thing coming this patch, but yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll get nerfed because the flight model is a bit extreme. Anyway, next clip now. The Tornado, this thing here also doesn't have, or I didn't have the afterburners functioning correctly, but there we go, we're just going to launch a Brimstone at this helicopter here. Now, they actually feel really quick. They're not actually that quick, as you can see. I'm already basically within gun range of that helicopter when my, what is it? Yeah, Brimstone gets there, so I mean, was it really useful? I don't know. Like, I'd find that these Brimstones would be much more useful on something like a Harrier, where you can just hover and kind of do funny things, but maybe that will come later to the game, because as far as I know, it can also carry them. One thing you shouldn't do, especially in Ground RB, is to fly right next to the enemy airfield. It does kind of just tend to disintegrate you without actually hitting you, so yeah, don't be like me, guys. Stay clear, even if you're in a supersonic plane. So yeah, that's also something to keep in mind this update, or actually in general. That's not specific to the update, but there we go. We're gonna spawn back in here. This time we're not gonna fly towards the airfield, and instead I'm gonna try and use the PGM which already exist in game, the normal Tornado. But I guess you don't really have any Brimstones to complement them, so they're not as cool. So what I do here is, of course, first launch the PGM and then the Brimstone, because I thought that the Brimstone would be slower. I was wrong. The PGM is slower. I think it's probably just because PGM is more of a glide bomb than an actual missile. So yeah, there's that. But always make sure to keep the pod looking at your target, and everything will be fine. The slow lumbering PGM will kind of just slowly slam him down, just like that. It did work, which is really nice. But unfortunately for the Tornado, it kind of is a bus. Its air-to-air armament is not exactly optimal. You don't really have any ARH missiles. And of course, you are extremely slow in a turn, so... Or extremely, not really that fast in general, actually, so... You're gonna have to, I guess... hope that the enemy doesn't spawn a Pantsir, which is gonna be a very tough ask once the update drops, just because they're gonna be looking out for you. Most definitely. Or most definitely for the F-15. You're probably not the priority target, but anyway. A bunch of targets there, a bunch of missiles that I could launch. The problem with queuing up missiles like this is it doesn't really actually help you, because in helicopters it helps you because you're a stationary target and you can kind of space them out. You can't really space them out here because you're traveling on an already extremely fast platform, though they end up hitting the target basically at the same time. As you can see right here very soon. There we go. 1, 2, maybe 3. There we go. I mean, yeah, that's one problem with these really fast platforms, is that oftentimes you can't really queue missiles as you'd like to, or queue laser guided weapons. Which is why helicopters in that case do have a bit of an advantage when it comes to doing that. Because I can also just notch that AIM-120 there with all the shafting that this thing gets. You have a lot, you won't ever run out, and you don't really have to worry about it. I guess for a final little funny moment here, I'll just launch a friendly little PGM on that IS-7 there, just to, yeah, make sure to obliterate him, just like that. Alright, so that does it for this video here. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Now, there is this other strike aircraft here that I didn't really take a look at. The reason is because there's not really much to take a look. It really is just got 2 bombs, 2 laser guided bombs is what I'd probably take if I were to ever use this thing. The problem is that it only has 2 of them, and at that point you might as well just use a drone. This thing really is just a squadron vehicle for the sake of existing in the game. It's not really useful. It does look cool. That's definitely undeniable. But I think I'm more excited for what this means for what's going to come in the future. Maybe the F-22, who knows? Supposedly that was in one of the leaks that it was being worked on for the far future, I'm probably going to assume. I'm looking forward to it. I think F-22 looks cool, but how broken it would be in game, I don't know. Anyway, hopefully you have enjoyed this video here. I haven't really been posting too much or posting anything actually, because I just have been not really feel like playing this game for the past couple of weeks. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, and hopefully this video has at least been, I don't know, refreshing or something. Regardless, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.